Listen to the dedication. To the greatest living authority on physics, Galileo Galilei. I read Fabricius' paper the other day. He thinks the spots are clusters of planets between us and the sun.
Isn't that doubtful, Mr. Galilei?
In Paris and Prague, they think they're vapors from the sun. Federzoni has his doubts.
Oh, leave me out. I said, that's all. How can I doubt anything? I'm the lens grinder. I grind lenses, you use them. You observe the heavens, and what you see is not sunspots, but maculis. Don't discuss these new things in front of me. I can't read the books. It's Latin.
There is happiness in doubting. I wonder why.
Aren't we going to take this up, sir? Every sunny day for the last fortnight, I've gone up to the attic. A thin beam of light comes down through a crack in the tiles. With it, you can catch a reverse image of the sun on a piece of paper. On the image, I could see a little blurred spot that moved. Why don't we investigate those spots, Mr. Galilei?
At the moment, we are investigating floating bodies.
Mother has whole baskets full of letters. All Europe wants your opinion. With the reputation you built up, you can't be silent.
Rome has allowed me to build up a reputation because of being silent.
Well, I don't see how you can afford to be silent any longer.
I can't afford to be roasted on a wood fire like a ham.
You think the sunspots may have something to do with that again? All right, we'll stick to fiddling about with bits of ice. That can't hurt you.
Exactly. Our proposition.
All things that are lighter than water float. All things that are heavier sink.
What does Aristotle say?
Discus latus platusque.
Translate, Fulganzio.
A broad, flat disc of ice floats in water, whereas an iron needle sinks.
Why then, according to Aristotle, doesn't ice sink?
Because being broad and flat, it cannot divide the water.
Very well. I press the ice firmly down to the bottom of the bowl. Now I remove the pressure of my hand. What happened?
It rises to the surface.
Correct. In rising, it seems to be able to divide the water, Fulganzio.
But then why does it float at all? Ice is heavier than water because it is compressed water.
What if it were expanded water?
It must be lighter than water or it wouldn't float.
Mm-hmm.
Just as an iron needle can't float. All things that are lighter than water float. All things that are heavier sink. QED.
Andrea, you must learn to think carefully. Give me that iron needle. A sheet of paper. Is iron heavier than water?
Yes.
What happened?
Float. Holy Aristotle! They never checked up on him!
Every time I hear them laugh like that, I feel afraid. Well, Ludovico! Oh, why didn't you let us know you were coming?
I was near here inspecting our vineyards at Buccioli. I couldn't keep away.
Who's that?
Ludovico.
Good day, sir.
Can't you see him?
Let's celebrate. Sarti, bring us a jug of that old Sicilian wine. How are the horses?
The horses are fine, sir.
Fine. Let's sit down. Sit down, Ludovico.
You're looking pale. Country life will do you good. Her mother's planning on September.
I suppose I oughtn't to. Wait a moment, I've something to show you.
I hear as many as 1,000 students come to hear you lecture at the university, sir. What are you working on these days?
Routine stuff. Did you come through Rome?
Yes. Oh, before I forget, Mother sends her congratulations on your restraint. About the fuss in Holland of the sunspots.
Very kind of her.
Christopher Clavius had all Rome by the ears. He said he was afraid this earth round the sun business might crop up again because of these spots.
Clavius is on the same track.
What news from the Holy City other than the hope of new aberrations on my part?
Pope is on his deathbed. Hadn't you heard?
Who do they say is going to be his successor?
They say Barberini.
Barberini.
Mr. Galileo knows Barberini.
Cardinal Barberini is a mathematician.
A scientist in the chair of St. Peter.
We might live to see the day, Fedezoni, when we don't have to look over our shoulders like criminals every time we say 2 and 2 are 4. I like this wine. What do you think of it, Ludovico?
I like it.
I know the hill where it's grown. The slope is steep and stony. The grape almost blue. I'm fond of this wine.
Yes, sir.
There are little shadows in it. It's almost sweet. Just stops short there. Andrea, bring in your contraption.
He's starting on the sunspots.
The Pope's convinced the earth stands still, for so the Bible proves. He tries to take it by the ears, and yet, it moves. We might find that the sun turns too. How would you like that, Mr. Marsili?
What's all the excitement?
You're not going to start those hellish goings-on again, Galileo.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Barberini is in the ascendant. Your mother's uneasy, and you've been sent to investigate. Clavius is right. These sunspots do interest me. How do you like my wine, Ludovico?
I told you I liked it, sir.
Do you really like it?
I like it.
What has my astronomy to do with my daughter. The phases of Venus don't affect Virginia's rear end.
That isn't funny, just vulgar. I'll get Virginia.
Mrs. Sutton, marriage in families like mine is not decided by sexual considerations alone.
Oh, was it the family that kept you from marrying my daughter for 8 years?
My future wife will have to take her place in our village church.
If a bad man's daughter sat in the family pew, it might stop your peasants from paying their rent.
In a way.
The reflector and the screen. We'll throw the image of the sun on it to save our eyes. Andrea, your method.
My mother was positively assured that you'd undertaken not to get mixed up in this earth round the sun business again, sir.
We had a reactionary pope then.
Had? His Holiness isn't dead yet.
Pretty nearly.
Pretty nearly. 50 times this man will weigh a chip of ice. But when it comes to something that suits him, he believes it blindly.
If His Holiness dies, the new pope, whoever he turns out to be, will respect the convictions held by the country's leading families.
God made the physical world. God made the human brain. God will allow physics.
Galileo, let me tell you something. I've watched my son fall into sin for the sake of these experiments and theories and observations, and I haven't been able to do anything about it. You set yourself against the authorities, and they gave you a warning. The greatest cardinal spoke to you the way you speak to a sick horse. Well, it worked for a while. But 2 months ago, I caught you sneaking back to your observations. I didn't say anything, but I knew. And I lit a candle to St. Joseph. It's more than I can bear. When we're alone, you show some sense. You say you've got to behave because it's dangerous not to. But 2 days of these experiments and you're as bad as ever. If I lose my eternal salvation because I stand by a heretic, that's my business. But you've no right to trample your daughter's happiness with your big feet.
Uncover the telescope.
Giuseppe, put the luggage back in the coach.
She'll never get over this. You can tell her yourself.
Mr. Galileo, if we Marsilis were to countenance teaching frowned on by the church, it could unsettle our peasants. Don't forget, these poor wretches really get everything mixed up. They're nothing but animals.
Really?
I've seen the day when my poor mother has had to have a dog whipped in front of them to remind them to keep their place.
Oh.
You may occasionally have seen the corn waving from the window of your comfortable coach. You've no doubt nibbled our olives or absent-mindedly eaten our cheese. But you can have no idea how much responsibility that sort of thing is.
What makes you think I ever eat my cheese absent-mindedly? Are we ready?
Yes, sir.
It isn't only dogs you whip to keep discipline, is it, Marsili?
Mr. Galileo, you have a wonderful brain. It's a pity.
He's threatening you.
Yes. I might unsettle his peasants and his housekeeper and his agents.
That's all right. None of them speak Latin.
I might write in the vernacular for the many instead of in Latin for the few. What we need for our new ideas is people who work with their hands. Who else wants to know the causes of everything? People who never see bread except on their tables don't want to know how it's baked. The bastards would rather thank God than the baker.
You've made your decision. You'll always be a slave to your passions. Excuse me to Virginia. I think it's as well if I don't see her now.
The dowry is at your disposal at any time.
Good day.
And our regards to the Marsilis, who order the earth to stand still so that their castles won't fall off.
And the Guidos, and the Orsini's,
And the Rosellis.
and the Cesarini,
And the Gianottis.
who'll only kiss the Pope's foot as long as he tramples on the people with it.
The new Pope will be an enlightened man.
Now, let's start observing these sunspots at our own risk, not counting too much on the protection of the problematical new Pope.
But fully confident of dispelling the fabricious star shadows of the solar vapors of Paris and Prague, and of proving that the sun rotates.
Andrea, reasonably confident of proving that the sun rotates. My intention is not to prove that I was right, but to find out whether I was right. Turn it on the sun.
I thought you'd been working at it. Do you know when I guessed it? When you didn't recognize Mr. Marsili.
You sent him away.
I've got to know.
When the Almighty made the universe, he made the earth, and next he made the sun. Then round the earth he bade the sun to turn. That's in the Bible, Genesis 1. And since that time, all beings here below were in obedient circles meant to go. Around the Pope, the cardinals, around the cardinals, the bishops, around the bishops, the ministers, around the ministers, the aldermen, around the aldermen, the craftsmen, around the craftsmen, the servants, around the servants, the dogs, the chickens, and the beggars. Up stood the learned Galileo, glanced briefly at the sun, and said Almighty God was wrong in Genesis chapter 1. And that is bold, my friends. This is no matter small. For heresies could spread at once like bad diseases. Change Holy Writ, forsooth, what would be left at all? Why, each of us would say and do just as he pleases.
As he pleases.
As he pleases.
Good people, what will come to pass if Galileo's teaching spreads? No altar boy will serve the mass. No servant girl will make the beds. Now that is grave, my friends. This is no matter small. And
An independent spirit spreads like bad diseases. For life is sweet and man is weak, and after all, how good it is just for a change to do just as one pleases.
As one pleases.
As one pleases.
The carpenters take wood and build their houses, not the church's pews. The members of the Cobblers' Guild now boldly walk the streets in shoes. The tenant kicks the noble lord right off his land like that.
The milk the wife once fed the priest now makes at last her children fat. Now that is grave, my friends, this is no matter small. An independent spirit spreads like bad diseases. For life is sweet and man is weak, and after all, how good it is just for a change to do just as one pleases.
As one pleases.
As one pleases.
The Duchess washes her chemise.
The Emperor has to fetch his beer.
His troops make love behind the trees.
Commands they do not hear. Now that I think of it, I feel that I could also use a change. You know, for me, you have appeal. Maybe tonight we could arrange.
No, 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 no! Stop, Galileo, stop! An independent spirit spreads as do diseases. People must keep their place, some down and some on top. Still, it feels good just for a change to do just as one pleases.
As one pleases. As one pleases. Good creatures who have trouble here below.
In asserting cruel lords and gentle Jesus,
Who bids you turn the other cheek just so?
while they get set to strike the second blow. Obedience will never cure your woe. Let each of us get wise and do for once just as he pleases. As he pleases. As he pleases. Hurry, hurry, hurry! Presenting Galileo's phenomenon, the Earth turning around the sun!
procession. Yes.
Will he say your book is heretical?
You hang around church too much. And getting up at dawn and scurrying to mass is ruining your complexion. You pray for me, don't you?
I've been worried. It's that man over there again, the one who's always hanging around the house. Here's Mr. Vanny, the iron founder. The one you designed the furnace for. Don't forget to thank him for the quail he sent us.
How are the quail, Mr. Galileo?
Excellent. Again, many thanks.
They were talking about you upstairs. They say you're responsible for the new crop of pamphlets against the Bible.
I know nothing about pamphlets. Homer and the Bible are my favorite reading.
It doesn't bother me. I'm glad of this chance to tell you that we, the manufacturers, are on your side. I don't know much about the motions of the stars, but you're fighting for the freedom to teach new knowledge. Take that mechanical cultivator in Germany you told me about. I can tell you it'll never be used in this country.
Your opinion carries weight, Bunny.
I hope so. Did you know they have money markets in Amsterdam and London? Here, we're not even free to make money. We sink or swim with men like you, Mr. Galileo. If they ever try anything, Mr. Galileo, remember you have friends in every branch of industry. The cities of northern Italy are behind you.
As far as I know, nobody's thinking of harming me.
No?
No.
In my opinion, you'd be better off in Venice. You could put up a fight from there. I have a coach and horses.
I don't see myself as a refugee. I like my comfort.
Yes, but from what I hear, there's an element of time involved. I got the impression they'd be relieved if you were out of Florence just now.
Nonsense. The Duke is my pupil. Not to mention the fact that if anybody tries anything in Rome, the Pope himself will tell him where to get off.
You don't seem to know your friends from your enemies, Mr. Galileo.
I know who's in power.
Well, good luck to you.
What is the Cardinal Inquisitor doing in Florence?
I don't know. He was not disrespectful.
His Highness had hoped to find time for you, Mr. Galileo. Unfortunately, he has to leave immediately to judge the parade at the Riding Academy. On what business did you wish to see His Highness?
I wanted to present my book.
How are your eyes today?
So. With His Highness's permission, I'm dedicating...
Your eyes are a matter of great concern to His Highness. Could it be that you have been looking too long and too often through your marvelous tube?
Father, I'm afraid.
Don't show your feelings. We're not going home. We're going to the glass cutters. I've arranged with him to have a cart ready to take us away at any time.
Mr. Galileo?
Don't look round.
Mr. Galileo, His Highness has just charged me to inform you that the Florentine court can no longer oppose the request of the Holy Inquisition to interrogate you in Rome. The carriage of the Holy Inquisition is waiting.
No! Ah, those shuffling feet.
Doctors of all the faculties, representatives of all the religious orders of the entire clergy, who have come believing with childlike faith in the word of God as set forth in the scriptures, who have come to hear your holiness confirm that faith. And your holiness is really going to tell them that the Bible can no longer be regarded as the alphabet of truth.
I would not set myself up against the multiplication table, no.
That is what these people say, that it is only the multiplication table. Their cry is, the figures compel us. But where do the figures come from? Plainly, they come from doubt. These people doubt everything. Can society stand on doubt instead of on faith? You are my master. And I doubt whether that is a good arrangement. This is your house, your wife. And I doubt whether they shouldn't be mine. After the plague, after the new war, and after the unparalleled disaster of the Reformation, your dwindling flock is looking to its shepherd. And now these worms of mathematicians choose this moment to turn their tubes upon the sky and announce that your holiness is not the best advice by the heavens either.
This man is the greatest physicist of our time. He is the life of Italy, not just some crank.
Would we have had to arrest him otherwise? Aristotle, whom these renegades otherwise regard as a dead dog, said, if the shuttle were to weave by itself, masters would no longer need apprentices, nor lords servants. Well, they believe this time has come. This evil man knows what he's doing when he writes his books, not in Latin, but in the language of iron founders and fishwives.
Well, it's certainly not in the best of taste. I'll mention it to him.
The seaports of northern Italy keep insisting they must have Galileo's star charts. Well, we shall have to give in. There are material interests involved.
But the star charts are based on his heretical teachings. We cannot damn the teachings and still use the star charts.
Well, we cannot do otherwise.
Oh, those shuffling feet make me nervous.
May they be more telling than my words, Your Holiness. Shall all these go from you with doubt in their hearts?
But this man has friends. What about France? What about the Viennese court? They will call the church a cesspool of defunct ideas. Keep your hands off him.
Well, actually, we shouldn't have to go very far. He's a man of the flesh. Oh, he gave in very quickly.
Oh, he likes eating, drinking, and thinking more than any man I ever knew. He gets pleasure out of everything. Even his thinking is sensual. He indulges in thinking bouts. He can never say no to an old wine or a new idea. I don't want any condemnation of physical facts. I don't want to hear any battle cries of church, 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 reason, reason, reason. I gave him leave to write his book on condition it ended by saying the last word is not with science, but with faith. He has complied.
But how? His book shows a simpleton propounding the opinions of Aristotle and an intelligent man expressing Galileo's own views. And who makes the concluding remark, Your Holiness?
What? Who states our opinion?
Not the intelligent one.
Oh, these shuffling feet are intolerable. Has the whole world come to me? At the very most, he may be shown the instruments.
That will be enough, Your Holiness. Mr. Galilei understands machinery.
June 22nd, 1633, a momentous day for you and me. Of all the days, that was the one the age of reason could have begun. Sancta Maria Mater Dei, ora pro nobis nunc et in hora mortis nostri. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu mulieribus et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria Mater Dei, ora pro nobis nunc et in hora mortis nostri. Amen. Ave Maria.
23 days. And the Pope hasn't even granted him an audience.
Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu mulieribus et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria.
No more scientific discussions.
The discourses. Some of his findings will never be finished. They'll kill him.
Do you really think so?
He'll never recant.
Benedicta tu mulieribus et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria Mater Dei, ora pro nobis nunc et in hora mortis nostri. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu mulieribus et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria Mater Dei, ora pro nobis nunc et in hora mortis nostri. Amen.
You know how when you lie awake at night, your mind will fasten onto one thing? Last night I kept thinking if only they'd let him take his little stone in with him. The appeal to reason pebble that he always carries in his pocket.
In the room they'll be taking him to, people don't wear pockets.
They won't dare. And if they do, he'll never recant.
How can they beat the truth out of a man who gave his sight to see?
Maybe they can't.
Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesu. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis nunc et in hora mortis nostri. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus
She
tecum,
is praying that he will recant.
Leave her alone.
Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis nunc et in hora
She doesn't know whether she's on her head or her heels since they talk to her. They brought her confessor from Florence.
Mr. Galileo will be here soon. You may need a bed.
Has he been released?
Mr. Galileo is expected to recant at 5 o'clock. As soon as he recants, the big bell of Santa Maria will be rung, and the complete text of his recantation publicly announced.
I don't believe it.
Mr. Galileo will be brought here to the back of the embassy to avoid the crowds collecting in the street.
The moon is an earth and has no light of its own. Venus has no light of its own either. Like the earth, it moves round the sun. 4 moons revolve round Jupiter, which is as far away as the fixed stars and not fixed to any crystal sphere. The sun is the center of the universe and immovable. The earth is not the center and is not immovable.
He was the man who proved it. A man can't unsee what he has seen. Well, it's 5 o'clock.
They're telling the truth.
No bell. No bell. It's after the hour. He hasn't! He hasn't!
Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu.
He held firm. It's all right. It's all right.
He didn't recant.
So, force isn't everything. Stupidity isn't invincible. Man is steadfast in the face of death.
June the 22nd, 1633, the dawn of the age of reason. I wouldn't have wanted to go on living if he'd recanted.
I didn't say anything, but I was in agony. Oh, ye of little faith!
I was sure. I was sure.
It would have been as if the day had turned back to night again.
As if the mountain said, I am water.
Oh, thank God!
Downtrodden humanity can lift its head. For one man has stood up and said no!
The great bell of Sancta Maria. He is not damned.
I, Galileo Galilei, teacher of mathematics and physics at the University of Florence, do hereby publicly renounce my teaching that the sun is the center of the universe and motionless, and the earth is not the center and not motionless. I forswear this teaching with a sincere heart and unfeigned faith, and I abjure, condemn, and execrate this and all other errors and heresies contrary to the teaching of Holy Church.
So, the mountain turned to water. I can't look at him. Tell him to go away!
Steady.
He saved his big gut!
Get him a drink.
I can walk. Just help me a little. Unhappy is the land that has no heroes.
Incorrect. Unhappy is the land that needs a hero.
I was told to deliver this.
I didn't order a goose.
I was told to say it was from someone who was passing through.
Someone who was passing through sent you this.
What is it?
Can't you see?
No. A goose. Any name?
No.
I'll eat the liver. Have it cooked with an apple and an onion.
Tell them to cook the liver with an apple and a little onion. We ought to get the eye doctor for Father. He couldn't see what it was.
Has he started to write again?
No. You know he's been dictating his book to me. I gave you pages 131 and 132. They were the last.
He's an old fox.
You ought to have been able to see that goose.
You were standing in my light.
No, I wasn't. You're straining your eyes playing with that ball.
You may read me some Horace.
We ought to get on with your weekly letter to the Archbishop. I've been told he's very pleased with your cooperativeness.
Where were we?
Paragraph 4.
Read what you have.
The position of the Church in the matter of the unrest at Genoa. I agree with the opinion of Cardinal Spilett on the matter of the unrest amongst the Venetian bell rope makers.
Yes. I agree with the opinion of Cardinal Spilett about the unrest among the rope makers. It's better to distribute good soup in the name of charity than to pay more to the bell rope makers. St. Paul says, charity never faileth. How is that?
It's beautiful, Father.
Couldn't be taken as irony.
No.
Good.
The Archbishop will like it. It's so practical.
I trust your judgment. Read it over slowly.
The position of the Church in the matter of the unrest at Genoa. I agree with the opinion of Cardinal Spileti on the matter of the unrest amongst the Venetian bell rope makers.
I'm sorry to call so late in the afternoon. I'm on my way to Holland. I was asked to see him on my way through, bring the latest news of him. May I go in?
I don't know whether he'll see you. You never came.
Ask.
Is that Andrea?
Yes, I'll send him away.
Bring him in.
Have you been keeping well, Mr. Galileo?
Sit down. What are you doing these days? What are you working on? I heard it was something about hydraulics in Milan.
Fabricius in Amsterdam asked me to visit you and inquire about your health.
I'm very well. I receive every attention.
I'm glad I can report you're in good health.
You might inform Fabricius that, thanks to the depth of my repentance, I live in comparative comfort and am allowed certain scientific pursuits under clerical supervision.
Yes. We understand the Church is more than pleased with you. Your complete submission has had its effect. Not one single paper expounding a new thesis has been published in Italy since.
Unfortunately, there are countries not under the wing of the Church. I'm afraid the condemned theories are being taught there.
Things are almost at a standstill.
Are they? Nothing from Descartes in Paris?
Yes. When he heard you had recanted, he put aside his treatise on the nature of light.
I sometimes worry about my assistants whom I led into error. Have they benefited by my example?
In order to carry on working, I have to go to Holland.
Yes.
Federzoni is grinding lenses again, back in some shop.
He doesn't know Latin.
Fulganzio, our little monk, has given up science and returned to the fold.
The Church is looking forward to my father's complete spiritual recovery.
Virginia, go and see to the goose.
I don't like that man.
He's harmless. He was his pupil. So now he's his enemy.
can't think why you've come to unsettle me, Sati. Even as it is, I have my relapses.
And no desire to upset you? What relapses?
I've been writing again. I've finished a discourse.
The discoveries concerning 2 new branches of science. Here.
My superiors aren't stupid. They know ingrained vices can't be cured overnight. I'm allowed ink and paper.
The discourse in the hands of the monks. Amsterdam, London, and Prague are starving for this book.
They locked the pages away as I dictated them. But I copied out each batch at night beforehand. I suppose it's the height of folly to pass it on. You'll find it in the globe. My foolish vanity has prevented me from destroying it up to now. If you were to consider taking it across the border, you'd have to bear the risk.
The discourse. It is my opinion that the earth is very noble and admirable by reason of so many and so different alterations and generations which are incessantly made therein.
I had to do something with my time.
This will be the start of a new physics.
Put it under your coat.
And we thought you deserted us. Mine has been the loudest voice against you.
That was as it should be. I taught you science, and I denied the truth.
This changes everything.
Yes?
You hid the truth from the enemy. Even in ethics, you were centuries ahead of us.
Ethics?
We lost our heads. With a crowd at the street corners, we said he'll die, but he'll never surrender. You came back, I surrendered, but I'm alive. We cried, your hands are stained. You say, better stained than empty.
Better stained than empty. New. Sounds realistic. Sounds like me. New science. New ethics.
I, of all people, should have understood. I was 12 when you sold another man's telescope to the Venetian Senate, and then saw you put it to immortal use. You always laughed at heroics. People who suffer bore me, you said. Misfortunes are mainly miscalculations.
I remember.
So, when you agreed to abjure one popular item of your doctrine in 33, I should have known. You were just withdrawing from a hopeless political brawl in order to further the true interests of science.
Which are?
The study of the properties of motion, the mother of machines, which will make the earth so good to live on. We shall have no need of heaven. You got the leisure to write a scientific work which you alone could write. And you burned at the stake in a blaze of glory. The others would have won.
They have won. Besides, there's no scientific work that only one man can write.
Then why did you recant?
I recanted because I was afraid of physical pain.
It was not a plan.
No, it was not.
In science, only one thing counts: contribution to knowledge. And you have contributed more than any man in 100 years.
Have I? Contributed for whom? Welcome to my gutter, brother scientist and fellow traitor. I sold out. You're a buyer. The first sight of the book. The mouth waters, the curses are drowned. Hallowed be our bargaining, whitewashing, death-fearing community.
Science is not concerned with our personal weakness.
No, my dear Sarti, even in my present situation, I may still be able to give you a few pointers about science. In my spare time, and I've got plenty of that, I've gone over my case. The pursuit of science calls for particular courage. It deals in knowledge distilled from doubt. Our new art of doubting delighted the people. They tore the telescope out of our hands and turned it on their tormentors. Princes, landowners, priests. These men felt the cold eye of science being turned on an age-old poverty that could clearly be got rid of if only they were got rid of themselves. So we are deluged with threats and bribes. But can we cut ourselves off from the people and still remain scientists? The battle to measure the heavens is won by doubt. By credulity, the Roman housewife's battle for milk will be lost again and again. Science, Artie, is involved in both struggles. What are you scientists working for? The sole aim of science, to my mind, is to lighten the toil of a human existence. If you give way to coercion, your progress must be a progress away from humanity. The gulf between you and humanity might grow so wide that the response to your exaltation at some new achievement could be a universal howl of horror. As a scientist, I had a unique opportunity. In my day, astronomy emerged into the marketplace. At that particular time, if one man had put up a fight, it might have had vast repercussions. I've come to the conclusion, Sati, that I was never in real danger. For a time, I was as strong as the authorities, and I surrendered my knowledge to the powers that be to use it, not use it, abuse it, just as they saw fit. I betrayed my calling. No man who does what I have done can be tolerated in the ranks of science.
You have been received into the ranks of the faithful, Father.
I must eat now. You're teaching now yourself. Can you afford to take such a hand as mine? Someone who was passing through today sent me a goose. Still enjoy eating.
Regarding your opinion of the author we discussed, I don't know the answer, but I cannot believe that your savage analysis is the last word.
Thank you, sir.
We don't like visitors from the past. They disturb him.
Any idea who could have sent the goose?
Not Andrea.
No, perhaps not. How's the night?
Clear.
And now, good folks, the story's done. The great book has its freedom won. But we hope you keep in mind, you and I are left behind. Keep the light of science bright. Kindle it and use it right, lest it be a flame to fall downward to consume us all, to consume us all.